to be making a Valentine's layered card right now, and this one's going to be a lot of fun. You can see an example of it right here in our PowerPoint presentation, which is really great. Now, our supplies list for this particular card is quite easy. It's asset number 399 in the resource library. I provide you with the fonts plus the file for the gnome and the card and the hearts, everything that you need for this. Now, we're using medium cardstock in 4 colors for the gnome. I used, in this case, we can use a black or a white for the feet, a red for the hearts, a pink for the nose and the hands, and for the beard you can pick a gray or whatever color that happens to be, and then whatever you want for your backing for your card. I used a shiny white on my first one. I'm going to use a white for the second one. So we're also going to need a little bit of glue, and my latest favorite of course is the bear glue, and a pair of scissors and some foam pads. Now if you only have the big ones, the scissors are going to work to be able to cut it down. One other thing, you will want something just to pick off the backings of the foam so it is easier to get those backings off as you go to put your layers together. So let's start by uploading our file into Design Space, and our file is simply the gnome file, and I'm just going to see what the name is. It's called Valentine's Layered Gnome Card. And that's the file that you want. I'm just going to click on it and add it to my canvas. Just take a second here. So I have a couple of pieces here. We have the card itself, and everything seems to be grouped, so I'm going to ungroup it. So grab the card. Now the card is, when you cut it, it is slightly off center, and that's so I can have the gnome poking out to the side. You can see one side's a lot wider than the other, but still, even with this part, I want to change this center line, and that's here in the layers panel. It's a Valentine's layered. You'll see it's red here. That means that's my score line, and I'm going to change that to a score. Now you have a choice if you want it totally centered or if you want it off center. Now, I've just got it slightly off center, and that's the way I like to have it, but no problem. Now we're going to go through a process of where we're going to cut everything on one mat, so we're going to be changing colors. But right now what we want to do is just take this together and attach it. It is the only score line we are going to be using. So I'm just going to move this off to the side because we don't need it anymore. I'm going to take a look at our little gnome, and I'm just going to make some changes to how I want my gnome to display here. For some reason he came apart, so let's just ungroup him. All these little hearts I have up here, and of course the beard comes down here right underneath, and I want that extra heart at the top here that is going to be on the hands. Just grab this and put this into position. Now, the biggest issue you're going to have with all of this is the fact that some of these are smaller pieces. Now, if you want to use transfer paper with your cardstock, you can go ahead and do that. I prefer not to because the transfer paper sometimes rips, and if you don't have a solid core paper, it's going to really show. So the pieces and parts more worried about that we want to have together are the hands and the nose, and we just want to cut them out on similar paper, but we want to kind of keep them together. We have a heart by itself, and of course we have the back, and we have our beard, we have the little hearts and the heart that goes at the top, and of course there's the feet. Now when we get to the cutting mat, we're going to have to move a lot of stuff around in order for it to work for how we want it. And I don't want to have to change mats each and every time. So what I generally do, I just take everything here. I'm going to change the color, and I'm going to change it all to red. We know what the pieces are, and I'm going to have to take this card, even though it's attached, I'll take the bottom piece I'm also going to change that to red, and that'll allow us to print it all, cut it all on the same mat. Now you may be wondering, well, why would you want to do that? Well, we can use scraps of paper for a card like this. So you can go ahead and save this. I'm going to go over to Make It. And you'll see all the pieces lined up all over the place and where they're going to be. Well, I might want to keep some pieces together and some not so much. So what I'm going to do is just cancel this. Because I want the hearts and the beard and the top little heart here, and I want those ones to be cut together on the same piece, what I'm going to do is actually attach them here so they say it is one. I'm going to then take this group, I'm going to do the same thing, I'm going to attach it because I want them together. And of course there's the heart and the feet. The feet, I want to attach those together. Well, I guess they're part of over here. I want to attach those together so that they cut the same as well. Now there's a couple of other things that we want to do with this card before we get to the cut. So let's just move these over to the side. We need some decor, and we want a piece that's going to fit in the smaller side here, which is this side of our card. So we're going to grab a shape here, and it's going to be a rounded rectangle because I like nice rounded pieces, and I'm just going to shape it here so that it comes approximately there. So now we're going to work with a saying that's going to go on our card. Now I don't want this color, so I'll just make it a lighter color so it's easier to work with. Because what we want to do with this one, of course, is add some hearts and add a Happy Valentine's Day inside. So I have given you two different fonts that you can work with. So let's just grab some text here. And we're just going to type in Happy on one line, Valentine's, another line, and Day. And what we want to do here is change the font for this particular one. Let me just grab it, and we will change the font before we size it. We're going up to here. We're going to our system, and I used the one here, and I've just got to grab the name of it. Sorry, 1 second here. And I think it was Angela Lovely Regular is the one we want to use. So I'm just going to type in Angela, and it is Angela Lovely, and I have given you this font. We're just going to change that font, and that looks great. I can size it just a little bit, and I don't like the line spacing so much, so we're going to make an adjustment here. So I'm going to adjust it down, and I'm just going to keep clicking on the bottom arrow here until I get something that looks pretty reasonable. And the day is always going to be out here. Let's see, that will fit in. I might just make it just a little bit smaller. And I will center it just like this. I'm going to turn it to red, because what we're going to do is we're going to end up flattening this. Now we want to have another font here, and we want some decorative elements. So I'm just going to grab some text here. Let's see, grab it away here, and I want some heart decorative elements. So we can do this through fonts, and I believe it is called Valencia. Oh, back up here. V-A-L-E-N. And we have a couple of here. Better Valentina. And it looks blank, but it won't be when you select it. And we have some text here. So if I type in happy, I'm not getting what I want to see. So let's go back here to Better Valentina. And there's one called extras. Now you'll see that we have all kinds of cute little extras here. Let's type in the word text again. There we go. We have some beautiful little hearts that we can use here. So what we want is a decorative element. And so the font once again is Better Valentina Extras. And I've given you the font, so when you go to the resource library, you will be able to find it there as well. It's part of the zip package. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to ungroup these letters, and all I want is this one. I could use the others, but I am not going to, well actually, yeah, what I would like to do is grab this one as well. So I've got two I want to use. These ones I don't need to bother with. I'm just going to delete them. Let's make this one a decorative element, and we can put one up here. I'm going to make it red, of course. And then I want a copy of it. I'm going to hold my Alt key down, and I'm going to make a copy of it that goes over here. Perfect. Now we can add some other decorative elements, but we're going to add them to the outside of the card, and we are actually going to cut these. So I just want to cut a couple of these. So I'm just going to make them red, and I'm going to make a double of that one as well, so we have two of them to play with. Okay, last things last here. We made this yellow. I want to make it now white. And I want to grab the whole thing together like this. I am going to flatten it. And now it will print then cut. So now we have a greeting that will fit here. And that will be on the inside of the card. And of course we have our decorative elements that are going to the outside of the card. So let's save all of this. And let's go over to make it. So there's our print then cut item. You would send that to the printer, but what I'm more interested in is how are we going to arrange this? Well, to start, I'm going to take this guy and I am going to just move him down to the corner. That looks pretty good. I'm going to add these extra little heart elements. Let me just grab those out of the way. Anything I want in red is going to come down here. Make sure I don't touch it. Yeah. I bring this one next to it. This one next to it. I could probably bring this up just a little bit. So I can bring this one over. So I need a piece of cardstock that's red, that's going to be 3 inches and by 9 inches, which is fine. So there's my little feet here. I can put them in the corner for a piece of black. Then I have my little hands and nose, which I'm going to do in a pink color. And I'm going to set them between the 7 and 9 over here. And the same with this one. I am going to turn it sideways so that I can put a... Let's see if I can get it between the 7. Let's go between the 6 and the 9. So I can now cut this out of a different piece of paper. Now this one, yeah, I wonder if I can just turn him, because I want a 3-inch piece. I can actually turn him up a bit to make a little bit more room. Just want to make sure I have enough room for everything without too much overlap. As I stay within the 3-inch mark, I will be good to go. There we go. So I know that I can now put on my mat a red piece here, a black, a gray, or whatever color you want for the beard, a pink or brown, or any other color you want for the nose and the hands of the gnome, and of course the card itself. And that's the most important part, that you can organize that in a way that you only use one mat for this cutting. And of course with your print then cut, that's an important part as well. You could cut 2 of these, you could go back and make 2, and that would make a huge difference in what you can provide. All right, let's get this all cut, and let's go over to the demo table and start putting this together. As you can see, I have everything cut and ready to go. So these are all the pieces that we have here. Let me just move my out of the way. So this is the one that I put on my printer. I used a 32-pound bright white paper for it, but you could use it thicker or thinner. It doesn't really matter. I have my foam pads that I'm going to use. A pair of scissors. I do have a weeding tool here because when I'm using the foam pads, I need to take the backing off. And I have a glue that I'm going to be using. This one is called Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. It's wonderful. I'll just take the cap off of that. And it does come with these precision caps. And you can see I've got a cleaning tool inside there. And this is my little precision. I'm just going to put that into place so that I am ready to start using it. And I'll just put the cap over top so nothing dries out. Just move those out of the way for now. Now I have everything cut here on my mat. Easy enough. There's my card. And I have my card with the offset center, and that is on purpose. And this time, for some reason, it decided to cut right in the center, but that's okay. I wanted a little overlap, so what I might do is just cut off a piece a little later. All right, so that's my card. Now I have, of course, the little hands and the nose in pink. And I have my beard and the extra hearts here. I have to keep these in little piles. Now this is going to be the issue here when you come to the little hearts, because you're going to put them in a circle. And I'm just going to take them all off for now, and we'll use those a little later. Next we have our feet, which I had a little piece of black paper here. Got our feet. And then finally all our extra little hearts and red pieces. Just get rid of my extra paper here. My gnome. The heart that's going to carry, and we have these decorative pieces that we can put on the outside of the card. Okay. There we go. Okay, let me put my protective cover on. Little trick for getting it on straight is you fold it in the middle. Line up that hole as best you can and just drop it down. It just makes it a lot easier, and I didn't get it that straight. Put that back out of the way. Okay, we are ready to put things together. Now mine didn't come with an offset and it came even. Now it's up to you whether you want to, of course, cut off an extra piece. I am going to take my cutter out because I want my gnome to stick out. I'm just going to cut off a small piece of one of the sides. So I'm going to cut off about 1/4 of an inch so I can have it overlap. Now it's not required, so I get a nice overlap here. This is to make the card a little bit different. Put my cutter aside. Now we're not going to start by gluing anything on here, but I'm definitely going to make sure I've got a nice clean fold on here. And of course we'll glue the greeting inside a little bit later. Just going to give it a nice crease. Now the greeting is going to go on this side, and you can add some decorative pieces for it, but we will just put that aside for now. What we want to do is work on our gnome and get all of the pieces and parts together. Now, initially, you might just want to glue it on top of each other, but I am going to get you to start using some little foam pads. So I'm going to start by putting the beard in place, and it's going to fit right in here. So I'm going to put some foam pads here and approximately here, and that will give it a 3D effect. So let's just Get a couple of foam pads in here. There we go. This is where I need my weeding tool just to get these extra pieces off. They're going to stick to me, of course. All right, first little part, of course, is we want to line this up as best we can. Approximately there. So now we have our first part of our 3D. Now we can put the feet on right away. And with our feet, of course, you want to have the round part up. So let's just take these, grab a couple of foam pieces here. I wonder if they're going to be too big. Actually, they are not. Don't have to cut them. Position them before I press it down. Okay. Just got one. Towards the edge here. Grab the next one. Great. Now we're going to add the little heart at the top. Same thing, little foam pad, because this is a 3D project. Now that is a bit big to fit on that heart. I am just going to cut this one in half. I'll just leave the half on the scissors for now because we will need it again. There we go. Okay, that's going to stick out on the top here, so let's just get it in place. You can have it right at the end. There we go. Now a couple other 3D pieces are going to go here. This is going to be the nose, the heart, and then the hands. So let's start with the nose, and I think I can use a full piece here. Get it into the right spot. So let's put our nose, it's approximately the center. That looks really good. Now the next part we want to put into place, of course, is the heart that's going in the center here. And that will, of course, take 2 of these just to make sure. Okay, we have our heart. I'll put it down approximately here. Now what we want to do on this part is put the hands so they're on top of the heart. So they just come up to the edge. Now there's 2 ways to do it. What I do is a double set that goes here. For example, let's see if we can fit one like like this. It's going to be pretty big if I put it in there. Let me just check the one. Yes, that'll work. Okay, I'm going to take the backing off this one. I'm going to add a second one. Put it right on top. Actually, what I want to do is just back this off a bit so it's right on the edge, so I have more hand showing through. There we go. Get that down. Then grab this one, put it right on top. Now I have a double high. All right, so first hand, just going to move it into position this way. There we go. Now I want to do the same thing for this one. So it's a double. What I might do is double them up first. Take one off. There's my backing piece here. Okay, sticky to sticky. There we go, we have the two pieces. I want to get them right on the edge. This is a little fiddly work. But you want to get it as close to that edge as possible. And if they stick out, you can always cut the edges off later. Okay, let me just grab this piece off of here. And of course, we want to put the other hand in place. Okay, so we're all 3D. Now, the biggest issue is now we want to glue those little hearts on to the hat. So let me just grab my glue here. With this particular glue, you need very, very little. So what I'm going to do is just put a little dab to come out. So move it over here a bit. I'm going to get a piece to come out first. So let me just grab this. You want to come out right now, okay? Just, I have a little pin here that I can push through. Seems to be clear. There we go, a little bubble of glue, a little bit on myself. Okay, so just a little bubble, and I'm going to place it down where I want it to start. You're going to have to do the same for each one of these, so just bring it up, just put a little bit of glue on it, and I am going to take it down the other side. Line it up the way I want it. Okay. Now we have 3 more, so I'm going to put one in dead center here. This is the best way to line things up. Very, very small amount, and this goes a long way. Now these are really tiny, tiny pieces, so looks approximately centered. There we go. And then 2 more pieces. Let's grab this one over here. Get that nice little tiny bead of glue. I fell in love with this glue because I found I can center it, I can work with it, and I can just move it slightly before it sticks and dries. I think I like that one there. And of course there's our last one. And will go right here. Yes, that's exactly what I want for our gnome. I'm just going to set that aside now. Now I want to put this into place. Now the biggest thing when I'm using this glue is I need very, very little, and I'm just going to put dots. Because I don't need a lot, I just need enough for it to stick. Even if I put a few dots in the center. It does not bubble. I could have used a red card. Get this as even as I can, and then just push it into place, and it will dry within seconds. And it is not going to bubble. When I use other glues quite often with the paper, it will bubble. This does not bubble. So now we're looking really good here. Now this is a part where I want to glue on the hearts and the gnome. I'm going to glue the gnome on last, but he is going to go here, and he is going to go right to the edge, so we get a bit of an overlap here, so you can pull him up, and then the hearts, of course, are going to go over on this side. So let's just glue some of our hearts on to start. Just put a couple of little dabs here. Add a heart here. And we have 3 different sizes here, so let's grab a medium one. Oops, a little bit too much. This one here, remember this just came from a font, and these are great little ways to do decorations just with a font. And then I'll put this one up here, and we have 3 more, and we'll put some down towards the bottom here. Maybe right about here. Bit of decor here, so this is actually taking the font apart as well, and then of course the last one, just a little dab, and that will go right here. Last but not least, we're going to add our gnome. Now we're going to have a bit of an overlap, so what we have to realize is we don't want the glue right to the edge on the top and the bottom here, but we want it on the rest. So I'm just going to add some dabs here, just a little bit, so it does stick. Very little. But just enough so it's going to be in place. Then we have to then center it the way we want it. I'm going to move him over just a bit here, and maybe a little bit there. Now I'm going to press him down, and this is our gorgeous little, I'm just going to, just 1 second, our gorgeous card. I just want to make sure I keep my glue intact here. Put the pin in, and that's just to keep it clear. And now we have our beautiful little 3D card. As you can see, it is a nice 3D with a happy Valentine's Day, and you'll see there's no bubbling. You don't see any bubbling at all with this particular glue. And you can see the edge of the gnome here for the card as he pulls out. Now, you can decide that you don't want to have the extra piece off on the card, and you can make it fold all the way over, and you can adjust the gnome in any which way you want. The last thing I would do is then, of course, you know, write a hand greeting to so-and-so right on the front, and that is our Valentine's card.